Even beyond.
Even beyond.
Even beyond.
Above and beyond. The Real Estate Show. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Above and Beyond Real Estate Show. My name is Ralph Ciancio. We've got Colin Noble here as well, and we wanted to put together a podcast to really just have a conversation, sharing some of the insight that we have as professional realtors here in the GTA, and share some insights, some experience, some laughs, and eventually answer questions that you may have to make your process in either buying or selling real estate a little smoother. But really, we're doing this for fun. We want to connect with people, and we're really excited to be here. So thanks so much for tuning in so far. That's been, 70 seconds, and there's already a mistake. So
hey, there's first-time listeners today.
Yes.
And there's first-time podcasters.
That's good. First time.
We're here. There's a first time for everyone.
Yeah.
And we're both very, very excited to be here.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening in.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about a couple things. We're going to be talking about the state of the market right now in the GTA. We're also going to be talking about the cycle of interest rates and cycle of an economy. And we're also going to be talking about Doug Ford's house.
Ooh, Doug Ford. No one's invincible in this market.
You got it.
But we'll get there.
The economy has no emotions. It just goes, right?
It just goes, or it doesn't go.
That's
I don't
true
know.
too. That's true too. We've seen a lot of that.
We'll get into that though.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's been a lot of talk in the news, a lot of headlines, newspaper articles, a lot of pessimism, I'd say, as well in the market. But Ralph, why don't we jump right into it? Let's talk about the market, where we're at right now, where we've seen the trend over the last 2 to 3 months, and where we do our best predictions on where we might see the fall market and for the next few months.
Well, that's a great question. So where are we at in the market? We have seen a steep decline in the number of transactions and then the number of the dollar amount of each transaction. So there's two different numbers there. Really important that the listeners out there pay close attention when they're seeing a statistic, when they talk about something going up or something going down. Are we talking about the average price? So that's the dollars exchanged. Mm-hmm. Or we're talking about the frequency of transactions. That's the number of sales. Now, the two are somewhat connected, but really they're independent. And then the other lens that I think every listener out there, anyone that's paying attention to the real estate market has to watch out for is where is the data coming from and what is it talking about? So, for example, if the CMHC, which stands for Canada Housing and Mortgage Corporation, puts out a statistic, they're talking about a national number.
Right.
If the CBC puts out a number, a statistic in their media release, they may be talking about provincial numbers. Global television station may be talking about a GTA number. City TV, as an example, may put out a GTA or Toronto number. All those numbers are totally different, and they mean something entirely different across the board. Someone in Markham right now thinking about selling their home shouldn't care a ton if the national home price predicted by Royal Bank is going to come down 15%, because the national home price is not your Scarborough town home price. That's a different market, right? And they're different macroeconomic factors.
Right. So do you say there's a bit of confusion? I see a lot of confusion too in the marketplace right now, between what buyers and sellers are both thinking. Like you said, where's the data coming from, and what should everyone be listening to, and where should they be finding their data? So other than their realtor, of course, but where should people, I guess, focus their attention when they're looking at, what's the market doing today?
For sure. And so I think when you talk about a buyer or a seller thinking about a plan, number one is you need to have high quality local information. You need to know what's going on in your community. Now listen, we could be talking about, for example, the average price for a home in Toronto. You can see the days on the market. You can see the average price point. You can see the success rate. So out of the number of homes listed, how many actually sold. But we could also look at one-bedroom condo townhomes in Toronto and break down those same numbers, or detached properties over $3 million. So every segment, every product category is going to have a different story to tell.
Right.
And so I think understanding, how to get good quality information, but also how to understand it. I've been saying for a long time, you've heard me here in the office say that we don't give out information. That's not our value proposition. Years ago, a realtor's responsibility was to communicate information to the market. and since the start of Google, information has become ubiquitous. It's literally everywhere. I've got these little machines in my house that if I say their name, there's two of them primarily. I won't say them because I don't want the lights to start going off. But if I just say their name and ask a question, they give me the answer.
Right.
So really, it's the context
Right.
to the information that we provide. So that's number one, is context to data. So listeners out there, viewers, need to find great information, but find context to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the contacts. So who are the people locally that would have any impact on this information, right?
Right.
And the last thing I believe a realtor also brings to the table would be confidence. Those are the 3 C's.
Mm-hmm.
So, by having the context, by having the contacts, that will also yield to great confidence.
Right. And that's probably a great segment or segue, I should say. Confidence. So where are people's confidence right now in the market? I feel like people have lost a lot of confidence in. Let's focus on one thing: price, because that's what most people, the general consumer, cares about: price.
You're right.
If they're a buyer, how much is this house going to cost me? If they're a seller, what am I going to get for my house?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's a bit of pessimism in the market, lack of confidence, I'd say. So let's refocus on what are prices doing? What have they done in the last 2 months? And where we see them going in the next little while.
So we've seen prices come down, and again, I could shoot out a bunch of data and statistics, but again, if we have somebody listening from Red Deer, Alberta, the data will be irrelevant. So I would
Right.
say consult a local expert to
Mm-hmm.
get the micro information.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about what the CMHC says.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about Royal Bank or TD Bank. They're talking about national numbers. There's nothing you can do about national numbers. There's no national weather station.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In Canada, national weather in the winter, it's cold.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it says.
Yeah.
In the summer, it's warm.
Yeah.
Right?
And in Markham, Ontario today, it's 32 degrees.
That's exactly it.
That's why we're
and
just
in
shorts.
Markham, it's rain. Exactly. Really, that's true. Real talk. As my kids say, no cap.
No cap.
Did I say that? Is that correct? Our producer Mathushan's in the back there. He's
No cap.
chuckling. No cap. But when we talk about the weather in Markham, it may be 31 degrees and clear skies, and you may go to North York, which is only about 12 kilometers away, and they could have showers right now.
Right.
The same is true in real estate. You can have a macro national analysis, but you really, really want the micro. But your question was really geared towards where are prices and where's consumer confidence. Prices are trending downward. There's a definite correlation between interest rates rising, which is basically impacts the cost of borrowing. So obviously, the more money it costs to make a payment every month, the lower the price point you can afford.
Right.
So we're also seeing a lot of challenges in terms of the banks not being very clear as to what the qualifications requirements are and who should qualify and who shouldn't.
Right.
So there's a little bit of uncertainty there. And we talk about the shift in power, the shift of control, where a few months back we saw a very strong seller stronghold on control. Sellers were in charge. They put their home on the market. They told you when to bring the offer.
Right.
And they made you jump through hoops, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, jump through crazy hoops.
And that's when we were seeing on offers, no conditions, firm offers, deposits in hand, take it and leave it, right? And that was like the sellers had all the power, like you were saying, of they basically got to dictate everything in what they were going to accept.
Yeah. Exactly. And now what we've seen is this shift, the pendulum shift towards more control from the buyer. So I wouldn't say that we're in a buyer's market yet. Believe me, there's a further way to go to be in a buyer's market. We are in what we consider to be a balanced market right now.
Right.
So somewhere in the middle of power.
Right.
And a lot of people ask, how come there's such a drastic shift? And the analogy that I've come up with is,
Ralph has great analogies, by the way.
well, I don't know. My wife says it's condescending, but that's just the way that I think.
No, it's great because it puts it into everyday perspective, right?
Yeah.
So
I
love your analogies.
Oh, I hope so. But I'll tell you the analogy on berries. So, call it 10,000 years ago, man was a lot less civilized than we are today, and you'd go into a new territory, explore a new area, and there'd be some berries on a tree. And people watched the tree, and they were hungry. They wanted berries, but nobody wanted to eat the berries because if you eat the berries and something went wrong, you died.
Right.
Then once in a while, somebody would go over and eat the berry. So Frank walks over, eats the berry. Everyone's watching Frank. Frank feels good, feels strong. Everybody eats the berry.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Frank dies, nobody eats the berry.
Right.
So it's very polarized as a culture where if everyone's buying, everyone's buying.
Right.
If nobody's buying, nobody's buying.
Right.
And we see this in real estate all the time. We see this in, fashion fads where Lady Gaga puts prosciutto on her face.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody did that after.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right? But then, Drake wears, some outfit and then everyone jumps onto it.
Right.
So what we've seen is a shift in confidence where buyers have now stepped back saying, I don't know if it's safe to buy a house right now.
Right.
And that itself has caused further regression. Other buyers are sitting back watching the bush, and it only takes Frank to walk over and eat the bush and say, eat a berry and say, this is a safe thing to do. And we're going to see that. I do believe that as we approach the fall, we're going to see a few people go over, try the fruit, and they're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that could pose great opportunity, though, for buyers, right? Because let's call it January, February of this year, 2022, when we were seeing, 20, 30, sometimes 40-plus offers on homes. So the competition was just incredible. Yeah. And now we're seeing less of that. I was on MLS this morning, and we're seeing terminations, we're seeing price changes, we're seeing listings expired, which in my mind poses a great opportunity for a buyer because they're not up against those 20, 30 other offers, right?
Agreed.
But I think then it comes down to switching sides here to the sellers, right? And what's the seller's expectation?
I think there's a great opportunity for the sellers as well right now. Mm-hmm. We read a statistic recently that in this past month, in the month of July, there was 620% increase in the number of terminated listings compared to January and February of this year. Yeah. So that means that a lot of people are terminating their listing, which means they're not successfully selling.
Right. Right.
That goes back to what I call market calibration. And that's sellers who are not calibrated with what the real-time market value of their home is. And the reality is buyers had some failure in market calibration in January and February, March. They were putting an offer on a property, miscalibrated, and they lose. Right.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing the sellers miscalibrate by putting the home on the market at the wrong price. And it's just a calibration. Mm-hmm. Recalculating.
Mm-hmm. If you were to put a timeline on this recalibration, and I guess there's other compounding things that happen within the market. Interest rates, one of them. Next announcement is in September. Where do we see the market? Like, are we going to be in the transition stage for another 2 months, 3 months, or after the next rate hike, the speculation is another 75 basis points to a full percentage? I feel like that's going to have another big impact on the market. So are we going to see that jump then to, a fully buyer's market?
And so in terms of where we're at, we have seen interest rates come up 1.75%, in the last 3 months.
Pretty short period of time.
Period of time.
Yeah.
The next rate announcement in September, I anticipate that they're going to increase interest rates again, but I think it's going to be a much smaller amount.
Okay.
From what I'm reading and what I'm watching and the people I'm talking to, they're already reporting that we've hit, if we're not at the peak of inflation, we're near the peak of inflation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A few things to consider as well is that interest rate is a really, really broad tool. So you can think of it kind of like a jackhammer versus, maybe that's not a great example, but give me an example of like a very, very broad tool versus a small one. A chainsaw versus a knife, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Still not a great example. Yeah. On the next podcast,
berries
I'll work
versus
on better.
Something
berries.
I don't know.
But my point is, interest rate is a tool that the federal government uses to control the speed and the intensity of the market, the whole economy. Mm-hmm. Real estate is just one section of it.
Right.
So, my predictions moving forward, how I feel today, we're just starting August 2022. Mm-hmm. I anticipate that we're going to see a small increase in interest rates in the fall. Mm-hmm. And then we may see a second small or nothing. Mm-hmm. And then I believe as before the end of Q1 next year, so 2023, I think we're going to see a reduction in interest rates.
Right.
We're going to start rescinding back. to a lower interest rate in a way to fuel and support the economy, prevent it from falling into deep recession. But before that, which nobody's talking about, is we're going to see some change in policy, making it a little bit easier for people to qualify for a mortgage and to afford a mortgage.
Interesting.
So you can have interest rates as a very, very broad tool that affects people that make steel in Hamilton or corn in Saskatchewan, like, you know, Bay Street, Toronto. They're all impacted by the interest rates.
Right.
But so is real estate. But then when you go more focused on tools that affect the real estate industry, you have amortization. So could they make it possible for mortgages to be spread out over a longer period?
40 years instead of 30.
Exactly, which we had. In 2008, we had 40-year mortgages, 35-year mortgages, and we saw this huge spike in real estate. Right? Could we see, you know, a shift in the stress test so that people could actually afford more? Right?
Yeah.
Stress test was designed to make sure people could work and survive in a climate where interest rates were at what they're at now.
Right.
So I do think we're going to start seeing some kind of, you know, some support, some incentives for the real estate industry. Real estate's collapsing is not good for anybody.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you're not just saying this. I feel like you've seen this in the past. You've been at this many more years than I have. And you have a bachelor something rather in economics.
I don't have a bachelor, but a bachelor's degree. Yeah.
You're no longer a bachelor, that's for sure. Economics and real estate. So I mean, you've seen the cycles and how they happen. And I think we're definitely in one of those cycles, both in interest rates and real estate in terms of prices. How do you feel like we're going to get out of this cycle? And talk a little bit about obviously there was 2008, 2017, those cycles, and I've heard you say to me many times we're in that 5-year cycle. And I mean, as hard as to say it, this was sort of expected once we saw such a huge increase in prices over the last, call it 12 months. Are we at the bottom of the cycle or
no,
what's happening?
I don't know how to answer that. It's a great question, is where do we sit in the real estate cycle or the cycle of the economy? Really, they are two different things. We could have the cycle of the economy really roaring, but real estate low. You know, real estate is a game of supply and demand. It's a huge global version of musical chairs. And, you know, the ability for builders and developers to produce housing, produce places for people to sleep faster than we populate as a global population. That's what's going to cause real estate prices to go up. My professor in university said buy land because they stopped making it a long time ago. Right? So there's no more places for people to sleep. So an interesting stat I read this morning was that, you know, the new home construction starts and sales have come down by 10,000 units. So they expect them to drag out a little longer. The builders will take longer to build those products. From a really, really local perspective, like I'm talking GTA, and we talk about the Golden Horseshoe, maybe we can unpack kind of the history of the real estate market in the GTA on a future episode. I don't know. If you guys are interested in seeing something like that, put a message or a comment below. Talk about the history of the real estate market and some of those kind of inflection points.
Yeah, I think real estate market too. And then also we had our mortgage broker in here last week speaking about the cycles of the interest rates too. And I feel like a lot of people would be super interested in that as well, because they kind of go hand in hand a little bit, right? For sure. And you know, we see we've seen ups and downs in the demand for real estate. Again, it goes back to the berries analogy, right? And so in 2007, 2008, we saw a financial crisis. People got scared about making these types of investments. What do? They shelter, they pull their money out, they keep it at home. Right.
As we are heading into, you know, a higher level of inflation, it's important to remember that real estate's an excellent store of inflation, of store of value, right? Yeah. You know, I remember one of my professors in university shared a story of the value of gold. So generally speaking, gold and real estate are the best, most secure stores of value. Yeah. And he said that back in Caesar's time, call it 2,000 years ago, an ounce of gold could buy you a toga, nice tailored toga, a belt, and some sandals.
Right.
and that's you could buy that for whatever the value of 1 ounce of gold.
Right.
And then now this morning, gold is at 1750 or so per ounce Canadian. I think it's in Canadian. And if you think about it, if you went to Yorkdale Mall, you could probably buy a suit, a belt, and some shoes for about $1,700. Higher quality, of course, it's not for everybody, but that's more or less the same store value as it was 2,000 years ago.
Right.
Real estate is the same.
Right.
So when you're buying real estate, you're buying something that's going to appreciate because they don't make any more of it. And although there's some fluctuations in the actual short-term price, in the long term, sellers are going to be fine and buyers are going to be fine.
Right. Right. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. A really good discussion. I think I think we could go on for a long time talking about the market and, our predictions moving forward. But I wanted to talk about something else.
Hold on. Do you have any predictions before we jump ahead? Because you're a smart guy. I mean, chartered accountant. You're my numbers guy.
I have my predictions. I agree with you. I think we're going to see, from an interest rate perspective, I think we're going to see it bigger than you expect. I think we're going to see maybe 75 basis points to another full percentage point in September.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another aggressive hit. I think that's obviously going to impact real estate in general, buyers specifically in their affordability. But I think probably springtime next year, we're going to see prices to come back up. So I'm giving us another 6 months of this, and then, hopefully we'll see prices come back up again. So
yeah, I mean, again, people say to me all the time, "Oh, how's the real estate market? Like, must be really tough." And the reality is, we represent buyers and we represent sellers.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're always happy. Not we are happy. I mean, we sympathize with different parties.
For sure.
In a really hot real estate market where people are bidding hundreds of thousands over the asking price and unconditional offers, we're high-fiving with sellers and consoling buyers. And now we are in a market where more typically we'll be high-fiving with buyers and consoling sellers.
Right, right.
So, that's just the name of the game.
For sure.
For
sure. And we haven't even spoken about leases and the rental market.
Oh, geez. That's a whole topic on its own.
That's doing the complete opposite of what we're seeing with home prices.
Yeah.
But another episode, maybe we can speak about the rental market right now. It's absolutely on fire right now in the GTA.
And I know you've had your hand on the pulse with a lot of real estate data for leases, even for students trying to find properties for new Canadians.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a topic that I think would be worthwhile. I don't know if you think that it's something you'd be interested in hearing about. Put a comment in the box below. Is that a thing? Is that do people do that?
Yeah.
In the comment section. Apparently, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll make it work. But another topic that's quite current and kind of fun to talk about. A lot of people, I know some of my friends and I were talking about, one of the hot properties right now in the GTA, Premier Ford. He's listed his house, I forget how long ago, maybe 7 or 8 days ago, 2 weeks ago. And there's been a lot of media attention, obviously, because it's a very high, it's a notable house, right? It's Premier Ford's house. And we saw it initially listed at $3.2 million. And within a short period, they've dropped it $400,000. And I know, you and I have had a lot of discussion on, pricing strategy, not only with Premier Ford's house, but our clients as well. But I think it's a funny story that I think you should speak about with the strategy that, the story behind this listing.
So as I understand it, Premier Ford, so in province of Ontario here in Canada, our provincial leader, Doug Ford, has his home for sale, originally listed at $3.2 million. Again, uncalibrated price is what we're referring it to. And then now terminated that listing, which we just discussed, the frequency of that, and now is listed at 2.8 million 888. Do we have that? Is it 8?
I think the initial price was 3.199888.
Yes.
Right.
And you know what I thought was really funny about that was, so when we're pricing homes, we understand the psychology of the buyers because we're in the market as well.
Yep.
And when we talk about, thank you very much. Yeah. And so it's was at 3.198888, and then now it's at $2,800,888. So when we talk about the symbolism of a number, now In retail pricing, there's a pricing strategy with a 999.
For sure.
So, for example,
Walmart's great at it.
yeah, everything under $10, it's $9.99.
Yeah.
From the buyer psyche, that's cheaper.
Yeah.
From a real estate perspective, listing at $999, obviously you're in a lower digit, right?
Yep.
But the 8 is symbolic in the sense that in simplified Chinese, or in Mandarin rather, when you say the number 8, it's actually synonymous for life.
Right.
And when you use the number 4, it's synonymous for death.
Right.
So just like we have night could be a man on a horse with a big stick.
Yep.
Or night could be evening time.
Right.
The same is true when you say the number 8.
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, as we had so many foreign buyers, we would strategically use the numbers 8 in the listing price because we want people to feel good and feel like this home represents prosperity.
For sure. You said something really funny there.
What is that?
I just want to jump in. You said foreign buyers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And so what was so comical about Premier Ford was that he just created a policy where there's a foreign buyer's tax across the province of 20% surcharge to any foreign buyer.
Yep.
But then now he's used a tactic which we've used as agents to kind of represent health, wealth, and prosperity on the homes that we sell by using 8 as a number to convey an emotion.
Right.
Now, I'm not generalizing, saying that that number is only good for buyers coming from overseas or from parts of Asia. But I'll tell you that from a real talk perspective, some of the times when we were pricing homes, we knew that we were trying to attract someone
for sure
overseas because that was the highest and best offer. So it's funny that he first kind of abolished a whole market, and then from there is trying to attract
market towards that market. That's
like
really
our
funny.
friend Keith Roy in British Columbia, a realtor out there. He says, everybody wants affordable housing until it's time to sell your own home, right?
So true. It's so true.
Premier Ford is getting through that now. So
that's awesome. Anyway, great conversations today.
Thank you.
And I think first podcast in the books maybe. And
first one of many, we hope.
Hopefully people enjoyed listening to us. And we're going to continue to try to do this as much as possible, because I think it's great to have commentary from people in the trenches every day.
For sure.
And working with buyers and sellers in the market, and also talk about topical things like Premier Ford's house. And I
think this is fun. I think it's great because it's kind of an outlet of we can express our ideas, we can express, share some of the experience we have, and ultimately what we hope is that the people that are listening or watching, they gain a little bit of knowledge, maybe a little bit of perspective, and make better choices. That's all we really care about, is helping people. And Colin, you've done a great job today. It's a lot of fun.
You too.
And let's
bump mics. We can bump mics.
I don't know. Is that a bad thing?
I don't know. I think our producer
bumping mics. It's
producer
hilarious,
Methushin says it's okay, but he also said that we should end out we should end our podcast with asking each other what we're doing this weekend.
This weekend I've got my niece's birthday party. We've got a couple of open houses that we're going to be showcasing. 2 great properties here in Markham. Should be busy. Both of them featuring swimming pools. What we've seen is since COVID started, houses with swimming pools have significantly higher demand than homes without swimming pools. So it should be fun.
Yep.
Awesome. How about you?
Awesome. I have my sister-in-law's wedding in Winnipeg. My wife's from Winnipeg, if people don't know that. But so last one of this summer, at least. So it's been
had a lot of weddings.
Been a busy wedding summer.
How many weddings this year?
This will be my 6th.
6 weddings.
So it's
and 2 of them out of province.
2 of them out of province. Yeah.
Amazing.
So it's it's been fun. It's been fun, but it's busy.
Yeah. Okay, well, we wish you good luck in the airport. We hope that you make it through customs.
Thank you.
Every time you travel, I don't want to tell you
no
this.
customs this time, though. There's no customs. We're just going to Manitoba.
Yeah, but I've been actually making anonymous calls just on the days that you're traveling. Just
watch for this guy, his wife and baby.
Yeah,
right? Okay, well, we'll be disguised then.
I don't know about that. You're going to be in worse trouble. Anyways, guys, well, listen, thanks so much, Colin. Thank you guys for watching. We hope that you like and subscribe to the Above and Beyond Real Estate Show, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.